Sakuga last week. Like last week, I was like, this is the best fight this year. This is gonna be Mappa. I was like, no, not Mappa. This is the best fight this year, right? It was amazing last week. It was just amazing. Single market here, right? Because that was just breathtakingly good, right? It was amazing. And I loved how it was so good. It's such a good start immediately when you see, the fight there. It's like, is Marcus wrong? Marcus, he's pretty weak. He's like, oh, you liar! And we get the power vision, like, she lied to me, bastard! It was awesome. It was like it was an incredibly good fight. I won't say it was like the best. I remember when I discussed this, could it be last year or 2 years ago? It had to be 2 years ago. Discussing what was the best fight of that year, of 18, and I was thinking about, for example, All Might, right? And I spoiled All Might, obviously, and that fight I really cried, right? Comparing it to the fight in Naruto, Boruto, and so on, right? That year. And I was like, well, from an emotional standpoint, like the All Might fight was the most, like, I was crying like a baby, right? That was the most emotional fight I think that year, and so on. So in that sense, last week, it wasn't like from any emotional standpoint, and I don't mean emotional because it was hype emotional, but it wasn't like, it was like a sad, it wasn't like that kind of revenge, whatever. It didn't have that kind of fight, right? It's a tournament or a fight. But from just like from a visual standpoint, though, it was just amazing. Yeah, like this literally, I still think, honestly, last week could have been the best fight this year already. I'm like, holy shit, this was well done. It's immediately, with the power fights, and then it was just amazing. Everything was amazing. But anyway, this week, though, I keep Maki here because she's so badass, but I think we're gonna have the Japanese Dansho, right? We're gonna have the boys fighting now. You got a freaking Tonfa, so I brought up my Tonfas, right? I like my Tonfas. So I saw my playing Nioh, so I played Nioh 2 last year. I have it here. Streamed that game yesterday, right? I was playing with, I also have Nioh 1 here for that matter too. Woo! Japanese! But yeah, so in Nioh I play with Tonfa, right? I play with Tonfa. Because I always like Tonfa. This is my own Tonfas, right? Tonfas. I once broke a guy's arm with my Tonfa, so one of these Tonfas, literally one of these two, I broke one's elbow in self-defense once. So that's a longer story, but it happened. I used to be a Tonfa instructor and everything, right? So I have like a black belt in Tonfa, right? It's kind of hard showing a Tonfa move sitting down, though. Okay, like it's kind of hard spinning too because it's like the soft. Yeah, so don't blame me now for not being able to show my moves here because it's kind of like you're kind of limited sitting here at the sofa. But yeah, Tonfa is a cool weapon, right? Very classic epic weapon. It's based around, how to, for farming thing, right? It's money, martial weapon is. And it's basically a very defensive weapon, right? Of course, the batong is based on it, right? And it's very defensive. You block a lot with it, right? You kind of disarm your opponents. And it kind of gives you, you can block, sword and so on with, right? Similar to a Yutte, right? Not necessarily how you fight with it, but kinda. A defensive weapon, you kind of use it to, block a sword and so on. That's a Yutte then, is the one where you have, a Yutte is like, you hold this instead and you have two, it's like a fork thing, you can disarm it with, right? And you also have the Sai, right, which I have over there, the Wrath, if you touch it, yeah, Sai, you have the Money Sai, right, and Sais are also kind of similar. Sai is like a trident Yutte, right, they're kind of similar because you also use them for, mostly disarming, right? Yeah, Sai is a very defensive weapon too, right? Because in the Sai, you have 3 edged, you cannot capture the weapon, right? You cannot disarm them, right? So, like with the Yutte and also Tonfa to some degree, they're very defensive, right? It's used to, fight against like a samurai the weapon, right? But anyway, that's Jujutsu Kaisen. So 3, 2, 1, and go. But I definitely think that he's gonna have. It was no sound first. I was like, okay, it was no sound first again. But I mean, he is Tonfa there, right? Freaking bad weaponry. Here we go. A man with a Tonfa! A man of my caliber, definitely. Fighting, of course, like Kyodo, an arch user. But you can see here, yeah, Megumi is using the Tonfa. Very, very, very traditional Japanese weapon. And he's, of course, using the archery, which, of course, is like a Kyodo, the archery. Also, of course, a classic Japanese, like you can see, for example, in Kaguya-sama and so on, right? Kind of classic. And also, Kairus, also very Japanese to use. Yeah, magical frogs, also part of Japanese martial art. It's very ninja, it's very Naruto, definitely. It's very Naruto of him. No, but I mean, the archery is basically in every goddamn culture of every country, basically. Because everyone always had someone using archery, right? Like artillery weapons has always been good, right? Longer weapon, right? Tonfa though, this is very Okinawa field karate, kind of very classic Kubudo. Yeah, Tonfa though, this is very Japanese. Obviously, you have to play Talim in Soul Calibur. She has Tonfa blades. She's like, she has, iron Tonfas, whatever. Yeah, or like steel Tonfas. But of course, I mean, he's using the, he's a Hansu main, clearly. But do let's leave in Tonfa series the Mega Man. Tonfa you rarely see in anime, right? The archery you see in every god of anime and gaming is on. Tonfa is super uncommon. So I mentioned with Nioh, I liked it in Nioh. Oh, nice. And then blocks it. Of course, see? Defensive weaponry, here we go. Oh, he broke his Tonfa. Don't break his Tonfa, man. It's a beautiful weapon, don't break the Tonfa. Oh, here we go. Ah, of course. Opens the eyes and then it's like... Oh. Oh, he broke the Tonfa. God damn it, man. Can't break his beautiful Tonfa. You had met Tom Mustard. But it's actually like a better fighter without Archer. It's actually a better martial artist when it doesn't use the Archer. Like in close combat, he can actually do more damage. Maybe. Waiting for the... Yeah, I mean, obviously, like extending his physical strength with his abilities, but opening now. Yeah, there he is. Waiting for the opening. He broke his Tonfas. Damn it! But as I mentioned earlier again, right? Yeah, like that's one reason why I play Tonfa in Nioh, because you so rarely do you see the Tonfa, even though it's like based on the the cop baton, right? Yeah, even though that's where it comes from, the Okinawa Tonfa. That's where the history of the baton comes from. In the like it was like a, I think in the military. I think it's a copied list, but probably in the military. I think after World War II, when he's living in Okinawa and he saw them using the Tonfa, and it's like that's like a pretty good thing for cops to have. That's where it comes from. So that right for the American cops. So yeah, inspired by the Japanese Tonfa. And that's what you see the Tonfa being used a lot, right? So used, but people having it. Not like the Gurkha in that has the cookery instead. Yeah, the Gurkha has the cookery. The cops, they kind of like elite cops, right? They have like a sword instead. They go around with it's like yeah. I have two cookies over there, of course. I have my cookies in on the room over there. Classic South Asian sword, right? Those cops have little less friendly cops. they have instead of having the Tonfa, they have like the freaking a tiny jungle sword basically. They can cut up wood with this one. Yeah. It's used for the cookery is used for like cutting down stuff in force and so on. Yeah, it's like a very like tool-based weaponry, right? Here we go. I guess, or I guess she's like, where's my katana? The poor girl, just the money, right? She's like, where's my katana? Maki! Well, I guess I lost. She's like, how much my katana? That was beautiful. Like, Kakashi! I love that. I have never no Kali, right? Come on. He's very casually. Ah, yeah, I lost. Ooh. What happened? Sleep? Yeah, he was like sleep. Like a trigger word. Oh. Okay, interesting. He can do it. I mean, he has the voice sound, yeah. I see, interesting. So it could be like... Wait, who is to fight? Is a mist power? But yeah, he knocked her out with like a voice attack there, but didn't know he could do that, but I guess like what's a mist thing? I mean, it could just be, I guess, a random monster that like has for the. I mean, given his probably this monster, right? This is yokai. Okay. I think the old man is like, yeah, let's use this thing. Yeah, the old man is like, he's cheating a lot. He's like, oh, this is gonna be great. Then we're gonna release this monster that they won't expect. This old man really is trying to. Man, it looks like an ugly monster. The brain is like, okay, it looks like a very ugly monster. Of course, he really wants to kill. Yeah, I mean, obviously, but. Mecha Mauer and so on. It does remind me a lot of. I don't want to spoil your Bleach. I have Bleach. It was his Bleach, but because he has like old cane thing, it's like Bankai. It's gonna turn into like a sword. Right? Come on, like he is similar to him. Come on, because he has, especially with the old cane thing. But if it was Bleach, his cane would turn into a sword, right? Yeah, he would be like an old man, and then his sword is turned into like a gigantic freaking flame sword, right? Like you just know it's like, you know that cane isn't an actual cane, right? If it's Bleach, it would be like Bankai, yeah, Shikai or Bankai, right? And then like it would expand a lot, right? So he definitely reminds me of a certain character in Bleach, definitely. Every old man, it's like it's an old anime, man. But yeah, this thing looks really freaky. Dead? What? Maybe someone else kill it, I guess, like comparing pilot, what? Oh, this guy, whoa. But he's in the opening though, so I did expect him to arrive eventually, I guess, but not this like so casually. And got like the, yeah, some kind of, seems to have mostly kind of plant-based abilities, right? Oh, okay, so of course they're gonna interfere with the tournament arc. Oh, new character, right? Looks like a blacksmith. Yeah, like he has the classic. Okay. It looks like some kind of guy working, you know, at an anvil, right? Because it has that. It's hot, so he has to have, you know, his sleeves open and so on. Like bones on his edge, though. Everyone needs to have a sad backstory. It's very anime. Like last episode, we get the sisters. Now we need a backstory now. We need a backstory about him here. Okay. Why mom? It needs to have like, my mom hated me for some reason. He needs to have a backstory too. Come on. I like the fighting in this like very clear. Yeah, it feels very. Yeah, this is very happy in this fight. Another. It looks badass. But I mean, they're fighting with the whole what's it called again? The shogun, yeah, like the man. I mean, the design background. Yeah, it's very Japanese. It's like the most Japanese fight so far. And it's even used to kind of like a Yuken fighting style too. We also have to say somewhat. Come on, stop breaking the tonfas, man! You know, this tonfa here is seriously like 20 years old. It's all over has tonfa. Like seriously, this here, I take care of my tonfas, man. Man, what is this character, man? So breaking, like, gotta pretend to. Honestly, tonfa is super old. Yeah, my whole life. Yeah, to kill him. They're very focused on killing him. Like, we have to kill him no matter what, right? Well, I know when the other bad guys are appearing, the actual, bad guys are appearing, they're gonna probably team up, right, to beat them, but. For mom, eh? It feels like a. It feels similar to like a samurai fighter because they're both like, kind of like, draw. Yeah, they kind of like, we're gonna do this thing, talk a bit, and then it's like, you know, who's the fastest at the blade, kind of, right? Even though no one uses a blade, I don't know, but you know, it's kind of like the feeling when you're like, you draw, like a challenge, right? Very, very like Bushido-ish fight here, I feel. A true Bushido duel. Here we go. They both kind of said, oh yeah, summoning his frogs. Huh? What's he doing? It's problem here that all the walls are just like breakable. And they can... Oh, an elephant. Oh, here we go. He got the whole soem, man. Jujutsu, he got the whole soem, man. It's like, okay, oh, it's like, of course, it was an elephant. That makes sense. I buy it because it's an elephant. Why not? He can spit out a lot of water. It's an elephant after all. Yeah, it makes sense. I guess it's very light about it. Oh, goddamn, it's a Pokemon combo, man. It's water into electricity. Come on, man. Well, this is high level Nioh here now. Oh, like a blood thing? Oh yeah, oh, interesting. Like a blood. Cool. Huh. Interesting tool there. Oh yeah, and then you're gonna be like, oh, wood guys here, yeah! What, Moku? Be like... This guy was in the opposite, right? Yeah, so they're gonna be typed by Mr. Wood. Well, yeah, wouldn't like these, you know, high experienced senseis and masters be like, oh, let's fight them. This actually is like a bad strategy by the evil guys because they're basically attacking. They're trying to, you know, I guess fight, you know, free him and fight the kids, right? But still, their masters and the senseis are kind of there, so wouldn't they all? I feel they're underestimating these, you know, seasonal badass guys, right? Are they gonna be able to leave this place and fight them? I mean, like Boa Hancock here, right? Or Sailor Moon, I know, but yeah. Last week I was like, who is she? It's like, oh, of course, it's, I read it afterward. I thought, of course, it's Boa Hancock. This was what I'm hearing. I know she's Sailor Moon too, right? But I mean, come on, it's Boa Hancock. So I said that she's a character in One Piece last week. This, you know, super hot character. No, but I said last week that she's a character in One Piece. And I was like, that's a One Piece female voice actor. But I was like, who is she? But it definitely sounds like One Piece. And I was like, oh, because it's Boa Hancock. It took me like a few minutes afterward to be like, oh, I know I get it. Yeah, no, she's here. But anyway, yeah, like would, you know, the senseis leave and save them? Well, maybe he won't because he's like, let him die. Maybe he won't. I suppose he might be like, no, I don't want to save them. Let them, you know, kill them off, you know, right? Yeah, I guess. I suppose so. But still, if they're too close, I feel, to the... Oh yeah, more... It's like fighting Yamato sensei. A lot of... Because this guy... The hatchet. I mean, it looks like some kind of a blacksmith, right? He's gonna have some... Definitely. Like, he's gonna have some kind of metal power. I don't know. I'm thinking he's gonna be like... Let's see if I'm right. He can maybe create some kind of... See, he's hitting an anvil, right? So yeah, that makes sense. Some kind of, clearly... He can probably craft stuff, something. He can probably craft metal stuff. There was 2 bones on the... Okay, here we go. Josh. But I mean, he looks like he's a bit a crafter guy. Like, of course, he can like create some kind of stone because he looks like he's straight up he's a crafter, right? He looks like he can craft stuff. It makes I buy it. He's a crafter. Like, yes, I see it happening. He's clearly a crafter. Ooh, little angry girl, and she's still sleeping there, looking all peaceful. Guess they're united there. Okay, so this I guess his craft will, yeah, lock out the senseis then. Like, it feels so anime to me. This is so anime. We're gonna attack the young kids, right? Then we're gonna have some guy being able to create some kind of zone, right? It's that thing with slime. This slime thing too. Someone can create some kind of magical zone that you can't enter for 3 days. Yeah, you know. Someone has to be able to do these things. I mean, you know, One Piece, in Naruto, it's like in every goddamn anime, it's like someone can create this kind of like magical zone you can't enter, right? A barrier of sorts. Exactly. And that guy has like a blacksmith uniform, so of course he can like he can really craft magical curse zones. Okay. Is your hand already? But maybe it wasn't work that well then. She's already broken through. Now she probably can't break through it easily, but it would be like, she's like, whatever, I'm already through it, yeah. It would be kind of funny if she was like, oh, it's gone, you know, and yeah, like, it moves immediately. It wouldn't be much, I guess, of a fight for the younglings though, if they got rescued immediately. But it would be kind of cute if she was like, oh, it's gone. I have empty, you know, seal magic, yeah, it's whatever, it's done. Man, if I ever write my own shonen anime or manga, that's gonna happen. I spoiled the meeting, guys. Someone's gonna do, oh, this is a barrier that's gonna capture the Hokage or whatever. Then some guy will appear and be like, anti-barrier, and need to save him. Used to break trope, yeah, used to break exceptions, right? Used to be like, no! But yeah, this feels anime. Okay, no, she did manage to just go through it with him anime, so... I guess it's gonna fight him. Yeah, okay, interesting. What's his power though? Obviously he crafts his own, but I keep thinking he's gonna have metal powers, right? Because he's a blacksmith, so he can be like, maybe he can create metal stuff. Maybe he can make some kind of armor knights. Maybe, I don't know. I think he's gonna be a guy that can create. An axe, of course, he could probably... What is this? Of course the old man is just music! You call this like a rock star? Yeah. Good, is a badass old man with a guitar, of course she is. But that actually is a classic thing though. In many... you know, classic yokai thing that you have the musical, anti-musical yokai thing. That is in a lot of other movies and anime and so on too. You have, yeah, but you used to have a guitar though. It's more like that classic Japanese instrument, which I can't remember the name of now. The long, I'm thinking of like Kung Fu Hustle now. They kind of throw the darts with like, yeah, playing this like a really long instrument, right? And they kind of throwing like the musical notes at him. Oh, well, after the episode I had to go and have to search for that, so what it's named. I can't remember the name at all. It's like a Chinese musical instrument that like... yeah, can we call Sensei? I wonder if this zone stops cell phones. Oh. It's not the cell phone! Come on, man! Yeah, I got more of his blood. Oh, it's like a blood shuriken. Didn't do much, I guess. Huh. Oh, like a Dao sword. Some kind of telepathy? Speaking to them in their soul? I mean, it's like a female voice like that. That's a weird thing. I don't know, like I see, there's some kind of allure ability. Because it's plant-based, I can see it being like, I can control people with my, you know, pheromones, you know, yeah, spores, right? Well, clearly hiding something with the... We're gonna see what's gonna, you know, what's beneath the sheet. Come on, show us the truth. Another head, like in Blade of Mortal. I think it's gonna be a face there. I think it's gonna be a face. Ah, come on. Where can I see it? Ah, come on. I want to see them. Those ninjas. Come on. Because I mean, the eyes are like wood. I think it's gonna be like a face here. Like remove the sheet, or it's gonna be like a, yeah, like the face there, the actual face. I don't know, because like the eyes are like, you know, the root, yeah, like the Something like that. Well, it's clearly only 20. It's gonna be a joke, I guess. The Umaki probably is gonna be a. I guess it's gonna be, some joke, right? Probably be the bad guys then. Playing soccer again. That was the weirdest one ever to play soccer. But yeah, classic TONFA, baby. Honestly, though, I had these TONFA, this pair of TONFAs. You buy them as pair, right? White oak. Seriously, for like 20 years probably. That's how old I am. This, yeah. You're probably watching this thing. You're probably younger than this TONFA is. No, most of my viewers are like in their 20s, I think, 30s, but it's something like that. But yeah, I don't really throw. I'm a hoarder when it comes to my tools, right? Can't throw it away, right? Take it with me whenever I move, right? It's probably in the market now. After I review the episode. School, I guess. Looks like a school radio, whatever, broadcast. Okay, yeah, okay, it's it's like a yokai school, I guess. Well, I'll talk to you. Okay, so it's Sundra, come on. Don't you love me anymore? What is this? Okay, so if the bad guys were schoolgirls or something, yeah, this would happen, I guess. Of course, because he has plant powers, you're gonna work on the garden of the school, right? Yeah, it's gonna be the gardener. It makes perfect sense. Yeah, it's like gonna blossom and like gonna plant the seeds and so on, of course. Yeah. And that makes perfect sense. Like, oh, cute pink shower. Man, these are so weird, some of these ones, they're so crazy. What? Oh, it's all okay. I don't like your acting, but you're kinda cute. It's so silly with the whole... can't... It's like a love story now, come on. Yeah, it's a Sundra. Oh my god. Man, those omakis are so weird in this anime. Wait, are they fighting those boys? I don't know. Weird. But okay, so I mean, we saw them in the opening, right? So I'm not like overly surprised that they do appear here, I suppose, because I was like, well, they seem to be probably, arriving based on the opening. But so that's anime only, right? You kind of watch the anime, you see the opening, and you're like, I probably should skip the opening, but I never will because they're awesome. But you kind of want to skip the opening because the openings are, in that sense, you kind of. Yeah, I'm not overly surprised. Like, here's the bad guys. I'm like, I kind of guessed they were gonna arrive eventually based on the opening. Right? So it is how it is, right? I suppose. Of course, some anime does it better, some do it worse. Like you have, like Black Clover, the openings are amazing, all of them. But at the same time, they're I see Noel. So like, yeah, spoiling. Thank you for me. And then we have like my favorite is probably in FT. Yeah, when they have one opening. I think it's 22. Where you just literally show every fight, and everything was gonna happen basically in every fight. They're like, oh, she's gonna have time powers, and it's gonna happen, and then Steve the Driver gonna save her. Yeah, you're like, oh, okay, interesting. You show like every. Well, actually, you know one thing. I want to say this thing if you never watched anime, but I can't say it here then. So spoilers now then, and before you read the episode here, Yoshi Pedal has the best spoiler opening ever. Actually, it's okay. Let me explain it quickly here. So spoilers for Pedal, whatever, yeah. Yoshipedal, it's a biking anime, right? And they have the biking teams, team of 6. And in opening, I think it's opening 4 opening 4 or 5, I think it's 4, yeah, 4. Opening 4 of Yoshipedal, they literally show every character's order of falling off the race. Because they're racing, right, and they kind of exhausted and they fall off, right? And so they literally show in like every character's order. Not just one character, but all the characters, all the teams, like both the enemy team and the characters' teams are shown in that order of them falling out. So it's like, here's this guy getting tired looking at that guy, they don't look tired as they do in the actual episodes, but Like literally, that's the last season before the fifth season of the first year race. So yeah, like there's like a 20 or so episode prior to people actually getting off from the race. They're showing every perfect order. Like Naniva taking off his glasses, or like Naniva, like one character with glasses, and the glasses reflects to the next character. That's the next character to fall off in the next episode. Like literally, it's showing exactly the whole order of the whole race. It's like 20 episodes before it happened. I'm not just joking. It's the worst thing ever. If you, I mean, it's one thing. You know, people say like, oh, if you don't know that, like it's one of those things that way. Like if you know that, like holy shit, it's showing exactly what's gonna happen. If you don't know it, it's hard to guess. But at the same time, not really, because I know there's like an off point here, but I'm coming back to, of course, Kaisen here, because not really. Though. I think people are always like, no, you can't first guess by the opening, because if you have only seen the anime, how could you guess right? Well, but if I watch a blank, you watch Pedal, right? And I noticed that, well, here in the opening, the first 3 people to give up in the race, I kind of lose, right, is exactly like the opening, right? So I see its pattern, it's very, very clear. The next time the 4th guy goes off the race and gives up, okay, that's the 4th guy in the opening, right? So I'm like, wait a minute, is the opening exactly showing that thing? Another anime, there was this spoiler again, and warning, one anime, Jujutsu Kaisen ending. Okay, the ending is exactly showing some more. Yeah, like Jujutsu Kaisen, no, Jujutsu Kaisen, Kaisen. Fall asleep. Now it's called Zodiac. Yeah, Zodiac anime. Like it shows you exactly the order 2 of everyone's gonna die, basically. If you look at the opening and ending, exactly. Like it's like by exactly. Like, oh my god, this is ridiculous. But anyway, so I think it's like you see the pattern. I remember people were watching that anime when it was airing a couple years ago, and I was like, the pattern seems to be pretty clear. Yeah, everyone's like the pattern given the opening and ending, and it seems to be exactly the same like we have it per episode, right? So. But anyway, here I think it's kind of the same thing, right? It kind of shows you Panda and the gorilla form and so on. That's just kind of hyping you up, though. But then you do see the bags appear. You do see the sisters and so on, right? You do see his blood, Shuriken actually in the opening. When I think about it, you do see that actually. But yeah, so in the opening, right, they are all fighting them, and they are on the roof of this typical Japanese mansion or castle or whatever you call it, right? So I mean, it's very much like I still think it's fair to be said when he appeared. Suddenly here's the bad guys. Yeah, here's the blacksmith new guy, I guess, but like here's the appearing. Here's the main bad guys, right, and so on. When they all kind of popped up, as I mentioned, I wasn't like overly. The opening does that though, right? I think some people are gonna probably be like, "Whoa!" in the reaction, right? But in my own, because I never do a fake reaction, right? For me, it was like, "Oh, a bad guys are here," I was like, "Yeah, I kind of guessed that based on the opening." So that's what I mean, right? So the other openings here, animes, but it's an example of being way worse and more spoiler in this anime. But still, though, right? I mean, I was just like, "Oh, of course it's gonna happen, right?" And otherwise, the opening kind of shows you, "Oh, here's the witch flying," and so on. So it kind of shows you the powers, right? Here's him throwing, I guess, the blood shuriken. Think about it, but anyway, so that was like not a big deal. I also think it's pretty classic though, I guess. It feels like a Marvel thing to me, I suppose, but it feels pretty classic to me though, that the good guys, right, they're fighting other good guys, but they have some kind of, conflict, between good guys, right? And to make good guys that have conflict be friends, you're gonna have another enemy, right? So you need to bring in the bad guys, the real bad guys, right? So in that sense, I'm not really shocked either. I kind of expect it to happen just from how they're gonna unite these 2 schools into one, good force together, ignoring that guy is evil. Well, how are you gonna do that into fighting? Yeah, of course, we need to introduce the other bad guys, right, and have them fight them instead, right? It's the classic teaming up, right? That is super Marvel. If you ever read any Marvel, right, every time Spider-Man meets a new hero in the classic anime or the animation, he meets the Punisher or whatever, right? The Punisher's like, "I'm gonna defeat you, Spider-Man, you're a killer!" And then, of course, Spider-Man saves him or whatever, right? Then they get attacked by, some other guy, and they're like, "Oh!" Then they team up, right? Actually, in the classic Spider-Man task, he blames Spider-Man, right, for, I think, like, killing Morbius, if I'm correct now. I was still a few years now, but he's after Spider-Man for some crime, blaming him for what Morbius has done, and also blaming him for Michael Morbius being gone, right? But of course, he's turned into the living vampire Morbius, and that's why he's not. So yeah, he's kind of blaming him for that thing, kind of in Punisher, in the classic animation, in the classic 90s anime Spider-Man. It's kind of like a misunderstanding, right? Yeah, classic misunderstanding. Spider-Man helps him. Those have Blade in that storyline and so on. Yeah, that's Blade, Morbius, and the classic thing, right? The same thing there, right? Spider-Man, he thinks that Blade thinks Spider-Man is a vampire, right? So he fights Spider-Man, but he's not a vampire. He's Morbius the vampire, you know, and so on, right? So it's very, 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 I feel, Marvel, where you have here's two good characters, right, or more, and then they fight each other, and then the other bad guys, the aliens appears, right, or the cyborgs appears, so the Sandman appears, or whatever, right? Then team up. Simple X-Men, right? You have the X-Men fighting the Magneto guys, and then the Sandman appears, and then they're like, okay, okay, let's be friends for this day to fight the evil, you know, anti-mutant guys. Let's team up, you know, for this thing, right? And then you're enemies again, right? Yeah, very classic, right? Very, very classic. So that's kind of what we get here, right? We kind of have these two schools. They're fighting, right? They have this tournament art thing. They're, you know, some of them are trying to kill this guy. Some of them are not really trying to do it. Some of them is like, give my sword back. I want money. Yeah, so they're not really in the same sense, right? And of course, here the bad guys arrives. So yeah, it feels very kind of like I would say traditional, traditional. Like the fight in the Japanese mansion. That was very nice. Yeah, the Japanese mansion fight. But it was really cool. The fight was really good, of course. But I think last week was a lot better, honestly. Last week was just amazing. Last week was, I mean, I said again, last week I was like, wow, this is probably going to be the best fight this year. This episode was good too, when they were fighting in the mansion, summoning in frogs, right? And that stuff was good too. It was hype. That was hype too, but like it was nothing compared to last week. I think, as I said earlier, how last week started, which is so strong too, where we see this like very, very, I would call it a flashback, but you know, is Maki strong? It's like, Maki! Oh, she's a weakling, you know. Oh, she's like, yeah, like, my sister, she's so useless. And then we see the power witch, the be like, I hate you! I hurt! She killed me twice already, she should blame you. But yeah, that immediate, like, that kind of like kicker immediately, the first minute, it was like, wow, that is a really, you know, to before a spin right? Because compare it happened to God of High School, which also Mappa did, right? It had some really good fights. My favorite fight in high school, except the drunk guy with dance magic, that was really bad. He's like dragging towards the guns on, that was really fun. But otherwise, there was the two girls fighting with their buckets, right? Yeah, they had the duel with the buckets. That was the best, I think, animated fight from like a choreography standpoint. And that episode reminded me of with Maki, right? The thing about last episode, though, I think it was so strong because, again, we out of high school had not much storyline, but it had some kind of storyline and then jokes, right? Some kind of jokes, and then usually most fights. Last episode was like, oh, it's fight. Yeah, it's fight. You know, it's fight. Yeah, it's like first second was like fight, right? So it's so rare to see an anime not only to have really, you know, well animated fights, but you actually have an animated fight, and the whole episode is almost one fight, right? I mean, yes, there's like a little, you know, some sister backstory there, but it's almost the whole episode almost is a one fight, not one fight, but you know, three fights. Yeah, one fight, right? This episode here, you know, by having a good fight, it was just like 5 minutes fight, right? So I don't think, of course, you can have 5 minutes of better quality, but I think this episode here, the fight quality was about the same. I would say a little worse than last week too, but then again, last episode like 20-minute fight. So I think again, last episode is probably gonna be like the best fight is the whole episode though. But there was 3 fights though. But that was this, yeah, which is really good, right? But anyway, I mean, this wasn't bad. But I'm just saying, last episode is gonna be hard to. Yeah, last episode is gonna be. Last episode of last week is gonna be hard to, how to say, overcome, right? From being the best fight episode, because that was just crazy. I mean, the elephant was cool, of course, and he's summoning, yeah, lightning bolts. It's a classic, like water and lightning, and you know, electric power, and combining that, and yeah, then we see the bad guys appearing, and of course the blacksmith guy can create a swear, like obviously as I mentioned the reaction part. Oh yeah, the old man actually appearing at the guitar, that was bad. That's probably the best scene, when the old man is like, I gotta, he's like, I'm a rocker. That was the best part. No, that's the best part, when the old man appears, and he's like, actually, I have this, yeah, this, like, I'm gonna play music now. Oh yeah, what's that called? Music. Harpists, what is it called? I mean, you can easily find it on one search and I find the scene. I'm thinking about the kind of hustle. What is the goddamn thing called? When you play with the yokai music and they can throw. Immediately, what I keep thinking about, the Harpists is called. What do they play for music? The Hollywood Axe Gang. But like, what are they playing for? They're playing a harp. But they're like a massive harp. It's like a Chinese gigantic harp. What doesn't say here, but basically, you can find it if you search for it easily, right? It's a very classic fight scene in my opinion, because I watch a lot of Kung Fu movies, right? So in Kung Fu Hustle, they have these two spoilers. They have these two Harpist brothers. I think they're brothers. I think so. They're a pair of guys. I think they're brothers. supposed to be bros thing, and they're playing this gigantic harp, right? And they're kind of throwing like music notes at him. They're kind of like, I'm like, it's like a dagger. That's why it's amazing. I immediately when I see the old man being like, I'm gonna rock you, it's gonna shoot, some kind of, magical music, right? Like, yeah, I can imagine him being like, oh yeah, let's go, something like that. Here, I found it. It's like in oversized Gukkin Gongsen. The father of Chinese music. It's like a, but it means it's like a Chinese harp, right? Yeah, there we go, Chinese harp. It's not like the same thing with the Gungshen, so it's called Gukkin. Gukkin. It's like the Chinese harp thing. But you do see that a lot, right? Like that one, the shamisen, right? Not the shamisen, but obe. Is that what it's called? Okwa, whatever. The one with the round thing. Japanese. What's it called? Japanese. Not the shamisen, which is the most classic one. Shamisen. Biwa, I mean. Yeah, Biwa is very classic also. You see it like Demon Slayer and so on too. Yeah, the Biwa. Shamisen is the one you find like in One Piece, right? It's a very classic like Japanese instrument. But then you have the Biwa. Also of course the shakuhachi, which is the flute thing that the monks are playing. But the shamisen is a kind of the guitar thing, right? Very classic. But then you also have exactly. So looking, I'm cheating out of the image, but yeah, the Biwa. You see the biwa a lot also in yokai stuff, and also, for example, in Nioh, right? So the biwa is the one where you have, it's like a guitar, right? Whatever, a lute, it's more like a lute, I guess. And it's like a rounder, like an oval shaped, right? Bottom, right? Instead of the shamisen, it's like a guitar, right? So that one you see a lot. For example, in Nioh, right? The monks that are playing and summoning like spirits at you, they're summoning like yokais, the element yokai. Yeah, they summon like fire, lightning, and ice, I guess. Yeah, water, ice. Elements heads at you. They are playing a biwa, I think. They might play I think they're playing a biwa. So they're like monks, they're playing the biwa, and then they play the biwa music, they're summoning like ghost element and so on. So I think you see a lot of that in different yokai, like Japanese instrument fights, but yeah, the biwa and the shamisen. Pretty classic then. Or then the Chinese Gukkin, however it's pronounced. So that's pretty, so I think the old man is gonna have some kind of like, he can either shoot. He can probably do both, I feel. He can probably both, like, summon stuff with his music, right? Like, control some yokais or whatever, right? And also probably shoot musical attacks, right? So, but I like it's like a guitar instead. He's like a modern fighter, yeah. He's like, I fight with modern music, so he's probably like faster music, right? To summon more stuff. But definitely what I think immediately when I see his instrument here, I think about he's gonna be some kind of musical yokai fighter. Right? For example, you see it in, like I mentioned, Demon Slayer. If you watch I think it's the last episode of Demon Slayer, or second episode, 25-24. You have a character playing the biwa or like musical yokai so on. So it's pretty. No, I wouldn't say not overly uncommon. I think the musical, but I think it makes sense though because from a cultural standpoint, of course, having the whole like a musical evil music that makes sense because it's kind of scary that someone could like attack you with music because you can't hide from it. You hear it through the walls, right? You can create some thrilling music. So I think it makes sense from a cultural. Historical aspect that you have like scary music, right? There you have like the banshee, the screaming voice of this like ghost that fears you. And actually, the banshee then, quickly explain that, the banshee comes from that if you have the wind in a specific winds, right? That are very very cutting, high powerful winds cutting, kind of creates that like screeching sound in certain buildings that the banshee is known for, right? So back in the days, 1,000 years ago. They thought it was some kind of ghost, right? Screaming, right? Creating these like super winds, right? That's why banshee usually has like in most mythology, the banshee can like do some kind of scream attack, right? And hurt people with their like voice or whatever, right? Or maybe sing, right? And of course you have the siren and other singing monsters, right? So it's pretty classic, right? Yeah, alluring, right? But it comes from that idea that the people back in the days couldn't understand like what is this massive noise, right? But of course today we know that that noise is created by wind pressure, wind going into like small angles, and then it presses out, right? So it gets like a sound effect, right? When the wind goes in like that, right? Yeah, in a very fast manner, right? But if you look at that from like an old building that has small holes, so on, right? Small cavities, like a whole tree house, cottage building, right? You might get that sound effect if it's a lot of wind, right? And then they were like, shit, what's happening? It has to be some monster, right? So that's kind of where the banshee myth comes from. Probably, but that probably makes sense because back 1,000 years ago, you would of course be like, why is the wind screaming at me, right? Why is the wind like making this effect, right? The thing is that too, if you go outside usually, in like a storm, you won't hear the sound effect because it needs to be wind usually, not always, but mostly wind has to be condensed and out again, right? So it needs to almost be like it can happen in nature, but it's mostly happening because you have, houses and doors and windows and, other sites that creates the kind of like a tunnel, right? You need like a tunnel to create that. So you won't necessarily find that sound easily in actual, like a forest, but you will find it unless the trees are very close, but you will find it very easily in like an old building, right? So that's also a thing that human man-made artifacts can create something easier, right? But anyway, yeah, that's like a long yokai and mess. Anyway, that's the Jujutsu Kaisen, guys. Try to see more with One Piece, of course. Freaking Wano, Uden flashback, awesome. And Horimiya tomorrow, right? Of course, on Sunday we have Attack on Titan from Mappa with my favorite character Jeremy and so on, right? And stuff like that. And scrap it up and have a good day. Almost at the 5,000, right? So of course, you come along. I should do for 5,000. It's gonna be a long video, probably. But I see you guys and have a great day.